Hi people, it's Archivist here, and today we're going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. In today's gameplay, you're going to see the FAL, a weapon that I've really grown to love. I was a little bit cautious about using it in this game. The time to kill is so low that I felt a little bit nervous about using an assault rifle that wasn't full auto or at least triple burst, but on ground war specifically, where you have a lot of these medium range engagements, I've actually found it to be quite advantageous. And as long as you get the rhythm down for your firing rates, you can do some real damage with this. The actual damage per bullet is very good, so as long as you can control the weapon and hold your nerve, I feel as if you can do quite well with the FAL. And it's something I would recommend actually giving a go. Like, it's easy to take a look at the weapon and how it works in this game and think you won't stand a chance, but I found myself doing quite well with the FAL, and I think as of this footage here, I'm level 50 with it, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I quite like it. And I've also decided to not don a camo with this because I think it looks so good without any kind of camouflage, just that natural black look. I think that's the case for a lot of the weapons. I like using no camouflage. If only to stand out, because it's funny because everyone's using all these crazy camouflages, but sometimes just a pure raw looking weapon looks the best to me, but that's just my opinion. It's obviously a very subjective matter. But the FAL is not the subject of this video. It is the fact that Call of Duty Modern Warfare in the UK has topped the Christmas charts. So let me just grab those a second here, and we'll go through the charts in the UK just to give you an idea of what's popular here. Number 1 is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Number 2 is FIFA 20. FIFA always does very well over here. Football is heavily ingrained in UK culture, so naturally the biggest game series featuring it is going to do well. And then there's Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It's a great game in its own right, but I would probably wager the reason it's done so well this week is because of the tie-in with Rise of Skywalker. Then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I cannot believe how well this game has done for so long. I mean, it's a deluxe version, it's a remaster. It's a great game, don't get me wrong, but they must be making bank off this game. Then Luigi's Mansion 3, which I am very heartwarmed to see here, because Luigi's Mansion 3 is actually a fantastic Switch game. Not a lot of people talk about it, but it is actually really good. Graphically amazing as well for a Switch game. Then Pokemon Sword, I thought it was alright. I think it could have stood to have been more ambitious, but I think Pokemon games always do really well in terms of sales, so it's no surprise it's here. Then Just Dance 2020, I haven't got an opinion on that at all. And then Mario and Sonic at the Tokyo Olympic Games, they usually do well also. I haven't played it, I assume it's okay, fun for the whole family I guess. And then, this surprises me, Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy. Not because it's a bad game, but that came out a while ago and yet it's still here. Clearly, Crash has some serious selling power, which is further cemented by the fact that the runner-up, in place number 10, is Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. And that doesn't surprise me as much because it's a newer game, and also I love that game so much. It's so replayable, online is so much fun, and they keep adding content to it for free. It's a fantastic title. So I'm looking down this list, and it's kind of a combination for me of great games and then games I just don't care about at all, like Just Dance 2020. Sorry if you're a fan of that, but I personally don't dance very well, so I'll do the world a favour and skip that one. So the point of me reading those out is that it's interesting that Call of Duty Modern Warfare has done so well. And I named it my game of the year, and I felt a little bit apprehensive about doing that because I felt as if, you know, whenever someone gives any kind of critical acclaim to a COD title, there's going to be that natural backlash. I mean, think about how people ridicule IGN for giving Call of Duty a high score each time. They say, oh, you'll give this game XXX, but you'll give COD a 10 out of 10 or whatever. So I was apprehensive about saying it was my game of the year, but it was my honest opinion. I thought that it was a combination of there not being a ton of great games this year, to be honest, but also the fact that it took risks, it's done things differently, and most importantly of all, it has pushed the franchise forward. That's something that, even though I don't like all of the changes, it needed to change in some form, because the ultimate killer of a franchise like this is stagnation. They couldn't just keep putting the same thing out every year and then doing like the gimmick. So, you know, the advanced movement gimmick or let's copy Overwatch gimmick with Black Ops 4 with all the different setups and the higher time to kill. They've actually mechanically moved the game forward while retaining a lot of what makes Call of Duty Call of Duty. It has taken some inspiration from Battlefield, but really only in the sense that now you've got ground war with bigger maps and vehicles, but I don't think it's fair to say Battlefield has a monopoly on that style. I mean, you could equally say that Halo uses a lot of big open maps with vehicles, so I think it's just expanding what it offers. And it's surprising in the way that, I mean, this is the thing about YouTube, right? Anyone who has got a YouTube account will know this, that it does perpetuate echo chambers. So if you've had an opinion and you've searched out a like-minded video to reinforce such an opinion, something I have to admit I do quite a lot, you will then get suggested other videos which are similarly like-minded. And if you have a negative opinion about something, what this can mean is you get suggested all of these videos that follow that same negative strand. And it has the effect of amplifying and reinforcing that negative strand. And I have to be introspective on this and not just say this affects other people, because you have to look into yourself before you can look to others. The skill-based matchmaking situation. When I was playing the early access version of this game, it annoyed me, but I didn't blame skill-based matchmaking. I made a video specifically thinking that I was, to be honest, getting a bit older, my reactions were dwindling, I wasn't as good as these opponents. I mean, ultimately, they are just other players. I should have been able to beat them. But then I started looking online, and people started talking about skill-based matchmaking. And I thought, oh, okay, that's why I'm losing so much. It's because of skill-based matchmaking. And I do agree with that, but I kept watching more and more videos, and it turned it from something that at first was a way of me rationalizing me losing to something that I despised and want to be removed from the game. And I sort of still do think that, by the way. I still do not like skill-based matchmaking. I don't think it should be removed. My stance is and continues to be make it what it was in Modern Warfare Remastered. That's my stance. Don't remove it, just adjust it back to what it was in the past, because I was fine with that. But there are other aspects of the game which is easy to fall into these similar echo chambers on. I think a big one would be something like how it was an early thing that's now been patched out, but if your character saw someone, they would shout, "Contact!" and then the enemy could hear that and it would give away your position, which was annoying, but I only think the reason that got so much traction was because someone shared it, and then lots of people started to think, yes, this is why I'm losing, it's because my character shouts contact and gives himself away, when in reality, that's not going to be the cause of most of your deaths in this game. It's going to be a problem, but it's something that would have been reinforced and highlighted. And in some ways, this is a good thing, because it means that where problems do exist in this game, rather than them remaining as these secrets that some people can take advantage of, they're very quickly brought to light, and then Infinity Ward can move to tackle them. But there are other issues with the game which, unfortunately, just due to practicalities, cannot be tackled in a expedient way. And the one I think is probably the biggest one around here is the map design. So a lot of people talk about the map design in this game being terrible because it's catering towards campers with lots of different safe spaces and doors and things that you can use to hide from people so that other players will just run by you and shoot you. And I agree that it does feel like that a lot of the time. There are some maps which feel overly complex and it's hard to keep a track of people. But at the same time, I acknowledge that reworking all of your maps is no easy feat, and it's not something that's going to be done in a short space of time. In fact, it's something that could arguably take a year or more to take all of the maps you designed in the first place and rework them to fit in line with a more aggressive style. So I see it as a little bit redundant to be overly aggressive and abusive towards developers on this point, because although I agree with the fundamental point people are making, equally I appreciate it's not something that you can do a quick fix on. And what you just heard there was a moderate opinion, and moderate opinions are in short supply now on YouTube because of the echo chamber mentality, where a moderate opinion can very quickly turn into a focused and aggressive opinion. And hearing all of these other people agreeing with you can feel cathartic for sure and constructive, but it can also turn what you may have thought was a minor issue into a major issue, not because the issue has become more prevalent, but because so many people have called out in agreement with you. And also because, unfortunately, moderate opinions aren't interesting. Quite frankly, fence sitters are notoriously disliked on a number of topics on YouTube, not necessarily because people don't like fence sitters, but because it's just not an interesting thing to hear. If you hear me go on the one hand this and the other hand that, is quite boring because you don't know how I as a person feel on a topic, really, because I'm trying to be overly diplomatic on something. Whereas if someone screams into a microphone that the game is broken and Infinity Ward are trash and that they're not doing anything to fix it, that's a lot more emotive and far more interesting to listen to. So you're more likely to gravitate towards opinions like that, and then you're going to be reinforced by over-the-top exaggerated opinions on that. And so the echo chamber gets more and more aggressive, louder, harder to deny, and also harder to turn away from, because it becomes almost like an addiction to play the game, get frustrated by that thing you don't like, and then go hear about how other people also feel that way, and it perpetuates on and on. And for some of these things, that can lead to a productive outcome. I think the 7.25 shotgun, for example, that was an example of everyone talking about how unbalanced that was, and then they actually did something about it. So you equally can't say that there isn't a benefit to 1,000 voices rising up in unison and calling something out when it's broken, right? The same thing goes for genuine glitches. Things like people hiding under the map, for example. It's better that a lot of people can call that out quickly rather than just being, it's not too bad, no, that should just go, right? It can get frustrated when you have an opinion that a lot of people just won't reinforce, so the opposite side of that, and for me that is absolutely the Xbox One X version of the game. Because there aren't many Xbox One X owners and therefore not a lot of voices to call this out, I feel as if it was a heavily neglected version of this game, and the console itself is capable of so much more, and yet the developers just, I'm assuming they offshored it or something, they just sent it to some separate team that they didn't manage and wanted to just say get it done, get it working, and that's all we care about. That's my assumption. Because it's just so much lower quality compared to the PS4 Pro, despite the fact the hardware is actually more capable. And in situations like that, it can be frustrating because I just can't, no one can gain the momentum around that issue because there just aren't enough people who care. I mean, a PlayStation 4 Pro owner who doesn't own an Xbox One X isn't going to suddenly become altruistic and say, yes, you're right, focus on that, don't worry about the map design, right? And so, okay, that slight tangent aside, the loose point I suppose I'm trying to make, going back to what I was focusing at the beginning of the video, was that Call of Duty is a great game. I called it my game of the year. It sold incredibly well, and it's liked by a lot of people, and it's done great work innovating and pushing the franchise forward. It has its problems, but it is not a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination, and the developers have done a great job. Have they done a perfect job? No, but they've done a great job. And unfortunately, you can't take risks and push something forward without stumbling somewhat. The whole reason that developers are often, satisfied to sit on their laurels is because that is the safer thing to do, because you won't cause outrage because you aren't taking any risks. The reality of taking risks is that you will take a risk that doesn't pay off. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a risk. It would just be beautiful innovation 100% of the time. So I'm hoping that what we see with Modern Warfare is a push forward in a lot of areas, and all the areas in which it maybe didn't do the right thing, like the map design, we'll see cleared up in the next release. Because that is the thing about Call of Duty, it is an annual franchise, so even if one isn't exactly to your liking, you don't have to wait too long to get another one. So, I think that's all I really have to say. As always, people, thanks very much for watching, and see you next time.